Dion Price, This Youth Generation, Life Skills Academy, Life for Youth Worker. I've said this before, and it's very unpopular, but this is the truth here. Gangster rap that has monopolized hip hop culture for the last 30 years is the worst thing to ever happen to the Black community since the crack epidemic. I'm going to say that again. This gangster rap and now trap music, all this gangster, this entertainment that we call rap, hip hop, gangster, that has permeated the entertainment industry for the last 30 years is the worst thing to hit the Black community since the crack epidemic. I've been in this industry of youth services since the 90s, since my early adulthood, and I've had a front row seat of how detrimental and the ramification of the influence of gangster rap since the early 90s, the NWAs, the Tupac, the Ghetto Boys, and it has not subsided. It's gotten worse and worse over the years until that's the only version just about that we see, and the influence has infected generations of young people, and it's resulting in criminal behavior, death, and deteriorating our communities to the point where parents are powerless just about to this influence. And we have glamorized and romanticized the gangster culture and thug lifestyle to the point where it is appealing to entire culture, the men and the women. So how can we give so many passes to these key players who are pushing this ill-spirited message that's influencing directly and indirectly our young people, that resulted in them being killed violently and self-destructing our community? The message is this: we see these high-profile superstar billionaires. No coincidence that the richest and wealthiest celebrities happen to be hip-hop rappers. Not a coincidence, because they're advancing an agenda, right? So they're being rewarded for advancing an ill-spirited agenda, and it's working effectively. To symbolize this, what they're doing is they put these high-profile, successful rappers who are successful on the top of this hill, right? And they're saying, okay, if you can get to the top of this hill, like the Jay-Z's and the Rick Ross and all these guys who are openly and honestly former drug dealers, 50 Cent, all these guys, are former drug dealers, this lifestyle, glamorizing this lifestyle of gangster and hip hop thug culture. Now they made it successfully. Now all these other cultural people, the millions of young people that want to be superstar rappers, those are the models. They're saying, this is what you need to do. This is the model. This is the blueprint, which is one of the Jay-Z's popular albums. The blueprint to be successful billionaire is this. So many and millions of young people are trying to follow this blueprint for what's to get to the top of that mountain. But here's the catch. Only a few of you are going to make it to the top of that mountain. The rest of you are going to die in the process and fall to your death. And that's exactly what's happening lately. Last 2 decades, how many young culture rap stars have been killed? That's just a small percentage. Multiply that by the hundreds and thousands of young people who are dying in the community from that same ill-spirited influence of culture and rap and gangster, and it's causing violence and death all in our communities. But these are not successful rappers, so we don't hear about them. This is what's going on in our communities. It is the worst thing that hit our community since the crack epidemic, and I will stand by it. In any violent incident, there's a victim, there's a perpetrator. Those are usually easy to identify. However, the hidden players in this is also a facilitator of violence, and there's an instigator of violence. And these are the hidden ones who are really stirring the pot. So who is the instigator of violence in this culture? It's these high-profile rap stars, the entertainment industry, the guys that we glamorize and have anointed, even the ones who have passed on. Their influence is still causing deteriorating to our young people. Look how much we glamorize these rappers who are passed on. They're anointed now. Now their influence is even more powerful now that they passed on. They're legendary now. Thug life is now a sexy or an appealing term, right? They're using the term thug as a term of endearment, like an appealing term now, right? So these are the players, these are the instigators. The hip hop artists are instigating so much sex, violence, and ill-spirited messages that is really saturating our community. Everything on the airways. The Bible uses the term inculcating. They're inculcating these ill-spirited messages to our young people in their ears, in their iPods, in their music. They're downloading, they're streaming them. We are getting a heavy dose of this ill-spirited influence because we have glamorized and romanticized the culture of violence and gangster and thug. The image of Tony Montana is on t-shirts now. He's a folk hero, and this is a make-believe character. The hip-hop culture loves that image of Tony Montana from the Scarface. Amazing. Every rapper, your name has to be gangster. Irv Gotti, Dillinger, all these gangster. It's all it's saturated. It's absolutely glamorized to the point. So those are the instigators. The facilitators is the entertainment industry. They told you that back in the day, in the late 80s, that Public Enemy and Conscious Rap and Boogie Down Production and X-Clan and all these conscious rappers, they passed on them because they didn't want that message. So the industry intentionally oppressed conscious, motivational, inspiring hip-hop rap music and elevated the gangster life. And look, we have not turned back, and look at the results. Look at what happened to our community. We need to hold these people accountable. All these so-called glamorized hip-hop, gangster rap images and artists that we glamorize, let's hold them accountable. Let's not hold back and saying, hey, don't celebrate this aspect of this person. Look at what he's representing. Look at that message. And we got to fight back as parents, youth workers, so we can save our young people. Most recently, T.I.'s son, King, has fallen prey to that influence as well. And now he's going through criminal behavior, trying to be this gangster. And he comes from a wealthy, successful, two-parent household, but he chose to want to chase this thug lifestyle. Why? Because it's glamorous, it's glamorized, it's sexy, it's popular. And I feel for T.I., even though he is also a contributor to this culture, who went through prison and all this other stuff as well, glamorizing that lifestyle, but he's turned his life around apparently. But just like us parents, I'm sure he's in his son's ear saying, son, don't go left, go right. But that influence is too powerful. Again, the worst thing to hit this Black community is this gangster rap. Just a thought, just a message. This youth generation, Deion Price, just a humble servant trying to make a difference. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this program, download the podcast or subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support.